WFYI podcast brought to you by Bloomington, Indiana, an American college town offering food and drink, college sports, outdoor activities, live music, cool art, and good times daily. Everyone is welcome in Bloomington. More information at visitbloomington.com.
WFYI podcast brought to you by 45, presenting 30 years of music by the Mavericks on Saturday, August 17th at Rock the Ruins at Holiday Park. Ticket information at rocktheruins.com.
This is WFYI News Now. It's March 4th, and I'm Darian Benson. On today's show, language was removed from a bill to disqualify candidates for Attorney General if they face certain sanctions to their law license. A bill that provides tax breaks for developers and homeowners that preserve wetlands heads to Governor Eric Holcomb's desk, and the Indiana University Board of Trustees voted to keep the Kinsey Institute at IU.
It's with these principles in mind that I affirm the university's commitment to ensuring that the Kinsey Institute, its name, research, scholarship, collection, and educational initiatives continue at Indiana University.
Those stories coming up, but first, today, third graders and most second graders will start taking the Indiana reading test, iRead. From WFYI's education desk, Eric Weddle reports the annual assessment comes amid ongoing concern that too many students lack essential literacy skills.
iRead is meant to gauge whether students have mastered reading skills by the end of third grade. Do they know vowel sounds? Can they identify relationships among words, like synonyms and antonyms? Or how about reading a nonfiction story and pointing out a problem in the structure? That's all in the test, and there's a lot riding on this year's iRead. Scores are stagnant and near the lowest in a decade. Last year, nearly 82% of kids passed. Governor Eric Holcomb wants 95% to pass in the next few years, so lawmakers just sent him legislation to sign that would ramp up supports for struggling readers and hold back some who don't pass iRead. That move would start next year. But for now, the window for the iRead is through March 15th. I'm Eric Weddle.
A Senate committee approved a bill that would increase access to postpartum, long-acting reversible contraceptives, also known as LARCs, for people on Medicaid. Indiana Public Broadcasting's Abigail Ruman reports discussion on the bill brought up concerns around the type of LARC it requires hospitals to stock.
The bill requires hospitals to ensure Medicaid members have the option to get a LARC during their delivery visit. A House committee amended the bill to specifically require subdermal LARCs. Senator Shelley Yoder introduced an amendment in a Senate committee to revert language in the bill to a previous version that didn't specify the type of LARC required.
I appreciated so much the inclusion of the IUD and how important it is to give birthers an option.
Providers and lawmakers raise concerns that hospitals might only provide what is legally required, which they warn could lead to issues accessing other types of LARCs, such as an IUD. The author of the bill says it does not prevent hospitals from stocking other options. The committee voted against Yoder's amendment. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Abigail Ruman.
The bill now goes to the full Senate for consideration. Language to disqualify candidates for Attorney General if they face certain sanctions to their law license was removed from a bill on the Senate floor. The provision was taken out about a week after it was suddenly inserted into the measure. An amendment in the Senate Elections Committee said a candidate for AG is disqualified if the Supreme Court disbars them or suspends their law license without automatic reinstatement within a year of the election. That provision was removed from the bill on the Senate floor without explanation or debate. Senate President Pro Tem Roderick Bray says there's still a need to address what many perceive as a gap in state law on Attorney General candidates. But he says not doing so this session came down to timing.
It's a difficult and maybe inappropriate thing to do in an election year. We can take a look at another time to see if we can fill that gap.
Republicans said the original language was not aimed at current Attorney General Todd Rokita, who received a public reprimand from the Indiana Supreme Court and faces another inquiry from the State Attorney Disciplinary Commission. Still, Rokita last week accused lawmakers of being deep state players who are taking away people's power. A bill that provides tax breaks for developers and homeowners that preserve wetlands is awaiting Governor Eric Holcomb's signature. It passed the State House Tuesday. Indiana Public Broadcasting's Rebecca Thiel reports it's not to be confused with a bill already signed into law that would take away wetland protections.
This bill would allow the Indiana Department of Natural Resources to certify some acres of ground as wildland, which counts as a tax break. The bill's author, Republican Senator Sue Glick, says developers have told her the bill would not only give them an incentive not to destroy those wetlands, but it would encourage homeowners to maintain them over time. Indiana wetland advocates overwhelmingly support this bill and oppose the one that's already been signed into law. It lowers the number of wetlands that can fall into Class 3, the only class that didn't lose significant protections when the state changed its wetlands law in 2021. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Rebecca Thiel.
And for our final story today, the Indiana University Board of Trustees are keeping the Kinsey Institute at IU. Indiana Public Broadcasting's Ethan Sandweiss reports.
Following the suggestion of University President Pamela Whitten, the trustees voted unanimously Friday morning to approve an accounting solution and forego turning the institute into a separate 501c3 nonprofit. Whitten said the plan reflects IU's commitment to academic freedom.
It's with these principles in mind that I affirm the university's commitment to ensuring that the Kinsey Institute, its name, research, scholarship, collection, and educational initiatives continue at Indiana University.
A solution is necessary to comply with a law passed last year barring state funds to the institute. The university's original proposal to separate from the institute met strong pushback from Kinsey faculty, staff, and supporters. A working group established by the university recommended that the trustees pursue an accounting fix instead. Kinsey research assistant Melissa Blundell Osorio came to New Albany Friday morning not knowing what to expect, but says she's thrilled with the outcome.
We've definitely been fighting for this since October when the proposal to sever Kinsey was first introduced. And so it's really just amazing, reaffirming to know that the university is listening, is paying attention, has been hearing our concerns.
The university said its solution would maintain faculty affiliation with Kinsey and keep the collections intact. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Ethan Sandweiss.
That's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by the following people who live in your community: Abriana Herron, Daudelin, Kendall Antron, who composed the music for this podcast, and me, Darian Benson. Our news director is Sarah Neal-Estes. If you like today's episode, remember to subscribe and share, and follow WFYI on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.